I'm so excited to use this palette. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Crue Trime. Crue Trime. Crue Trime. If you are new here, hello! My name is Sarah, and what I do here is tell you a terrible story to ruin your day and put on my makeup at the same time. Why? I don't know. If that sounds like fun to you, then you are in the right place. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification, and then that way you will never miss one of my terrible stories. Today's terrible story is kind of a nice departure from the typical stuff that we cover here. There's no missing person, there's no unsolved crime, there's no murder. Just good old-fashioned stealing. In fact, the subject of today's story was once called the Gentleman Bandit because he was just so damn polite. I've never even heard of the story. It was actually recommended by a lovely viewer named B. Hi, B. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. This is the story of Jeffrey Manchester. Okay, so yes, I'm putting makeup on, but I don't normally talk about or feature the makeup, but you guys, I have to take a moment. I have to take a moment. Oh yeah. She's back, baby! This is not the original Naked palette from 2010. I never had the original Naked palette. I know, criminal. This was re-released from Urban Decay officially today. I'm filming this on the day that this was released, so I'm using it today and I'm so excited. Anyways, any of the other stuff that I'm gonna be using today is gonna be linked down below if you're interested. Okay. In the early days of the year 2005, Snoop Dogg was telling us to drop it like it's hot, and we were all doing the 1-2 step. Everybody 1-2 step. That song was such an earworm. Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston had just broken up, and Meet the Fockers was dominating the box office.
Can you believe I conceived him with one testicle? Oh.
Just trying to set the stage. Police detectives in Charlotte, North Carolina arrived at the workplace of Lee Wainscott to talk. She wasn't in any trouble, of course, and it was actually, coincidentally, her birthday. They were looking for someone. They showed her a photograph of a man, and of course she recognized who it was. It was her boyfriend, John Zorn. 40-year-old Lee was a single mom, having recently divorced after a 20-year marriage, and she was working hard to support her kids, doing the best she could. She'd actually met John Zorn, this new boyfriend, a few months earlier at her Wednesday night church Bible study at Crossroads Presbyterian Church on Monroe Road in Charlotte. So at one of the church's singles lunches that was held on November 14th, she and John got to talking and he asked her out, and that was that. John was funny, sensitive, and generous, and he spent a lot of time volunteering at the church's food pantry, Loaves and Fishes. And when the church collected gifts that holiday season, nobody brought in more toys for the kids than John. Now, things in their relationship were quite new, but going well. John had even bought Lee a set of diamond earrings that Christmas. Lee didn't really know much about what John did professionally. She said that he told her that he worked like in some kind of secret-y government job that he couldn't really talk about, and she didn't press the issue too much, so what the heck did the police want with him? For starters, his name was not John Zorn, it was Jeffrey Manchester. He was a convicted felon, and he was on the run, having escaped from prison. What? So who was Jeffrey Manchester? I'm glad you asked. So Jeffrey Allen Manchester was born on November 12th, 1971 in Sacramento, California. I wasn't able to find any real substance or specific details about his childhood, family, or upbringing, but his mother, Vicky Halseth, would later say that they were a stable middle-class family. Jeffrey was very mild-mannered, polite, quiet even. He never got into any kind of trouble growing up or in high school, and he even attended church every Sunday. This well-behaved, polite Jeffrey worked at a McDonald's in Sacramento before he went on to enlist in the United States Army. He served in the 82nd Airborne Division, where he learned many valuable skills that he would use later, like rappelling, jumping from great heights, and handling weapons. I think he was attached to some other units too, but this is just the one that I found. Anywho, when Jeffrey was about 20 years old, he got married and went on to have 3 children, twin boys and a daughter. Over the next several years, he was deployed many times, but by 1999, Jeffrey and his family were living in military housing on board the Naval Weapons Station in Concord, California. Again, not a lot of specific details or insider insight to this marriage, but it was apparently not doing well. In fact, in November of 1999, the police were called out to the Manchester's home in response to like a domestic dispute. Jeffrey's wife would later skip town with the kids and file for divorce. Like, were they having money problems? Was this incredibly polite gentleman Jeffrey, was he abusive in some way? We don't know. But what we do know now is that his crime spree by then was already in full swing. So about a year before that, 1998, Jeffrey had begun robbing McDonald's restaurants. So remember, he had worked at McDonald's in his youth. So he was familiar with the building setup, and they're all kind of the same, right? Then Jeffrey applied these skills that he learned in the Army, observing, planning, drilling or cutting or sawing through the roof to get into the building through the ceiling. He would wait for just the right minute, typically late at night or like at the butt crack of dawn, right before the morning shift people would show up to open the store, restaurant, location. So when Jeffrey would drop into the restaurant, it was typically like in the kitchen area, and then he would go wait in the bathroom for all the employees to get going. And once the crew got started with the morning activities, he would bust out of the bathroom, show his gun. Sometimes he would have to fire a round into the ceiling just to get everybody's attention, but typically didn't have to do that. He, in fact, would ask very politely, "Are there any stray customers in the building? And also, make sure you remember to grab your coats before we go into the walk-in refrigerator. Please and thank you." He was apparently very, very gentle and very, very cordial. Civilized. So after the employees were locked in, he would just steal whatever money was in the cash register. Now, why wouldn't he just take the money when nobody was there, you ask? Well, the money is typically kept in the safe, and if you can't get into the safe because there's nobody around to open it, not real helpful. So he would wait until there was people and they were opening up, so like the money would be inside the cash register drawers. So once he had the money and was out of the building, he would stop at a payphone and call the police to let them know to go to that McDonald's and let all those employees out of the refrigerator. He did this over 40 times. All of the people that were victims of these robberies would say that he was very kind, considerate. Even McDonald's released a statement about this. Quote, "We may have a real hamburglar on our hands."
The hamburglar.
He likes us. He's very brand loyal, and we work hard to build that loyalty. Give credit where it's due, I guess. Don't tell McDonald's, but Jeffrey actually did rob other places like an odd Burger King, Toys R Us, home base locations in California until he eventually branched out to McDonald's in other states like Nevada, Oregon, Virginia, Massachusetts, Maryland. It was a total of 9 states. So in May of 2000, Jeffrey was in North Carolina for some Army training exercise, and while in town, he decided to drop in on a McDonald's in Gastonia for a quick robbery. You see what I did there? Jeffrey was feeling particularly motivated that night, so he decided to hit a second location. He got greedy, and it backfired. So as he was leaving the second McDonald's in Belmont, which was an area he didn't know as well, the cops cornered him in some tall grass as he tried to escape. Busted. Ever the gentleman, Jeffrey told the police, "You guys did a good job today." What Jeffrey didn't know was that an employee at that second McDonald's had actually activated a silent alarm that gave the police a pretty decent head start. Got too cocky. Got way too cocky. So during the interrogation, Jeffrey totally confessed to everything, to robbing those 2 McDonald's locations in North Carolina. He claimed that he had been inspired by another robber he had heard about. Oh yeah, Jeffrey? The police were squinting. I mean, by this time, the man who had been breaking into these rooftops of McDonald's locations across the United States had been nicknamed the Roof Man. He had stolen upwards of $100,000 just out of registered drawers, not even hitting the safes, remember? The authorities at this point were only focused on the two in their area, and the state of North Carolina threw the book at him. So not only had Jeffrey robbed these two McDonald's locations, he had forced the employees to go into the walk-in refrigerator at gunpoint, and that is kidnapping. I mean, no matter how nice you are about it. When it was all said and done, the now 32-year-old Jeffrey Manchester was convicted of the crimes and was sentenced to 45 years in prison, eventually ending up at the Brown Creek Correctional Institute in Polkton, North Carolina. It's about an hour outside of Charlotte. Over the next 4 years, Jeffrey did very well in prison. You know, he was cooperative, well-behaved. He even worked in the prison's metal shop. He was just flying under the radar, you know? All the while, he was observing the prison routine and watching trucks coming in and out, planning his escape. So in the prison metal shop, Jeffrey actually created a platform, and it was meant to fit into the undercarriage of these delivery trucks, one that would be leaving the prison. So the idea was to give him a spot to hide so that when the guards inspected the truck before it leaves, they wouldn't see him. On June 15th, 2004, Jeffrey's plan went into motion. He placed the attachment platform, got in, and rode away to freedom. When the truck stopped in Charlotte about 45 miles away, he casually snuck off, blending into the crowd. All right, so now Jeffrey is in the Charlotte area. He is a full-blown fugitive. So what does he do next, you ask? He goes to Toys R Us.
I don't want to grow up fun. Toys R Us.
Relatable. I love Toys R Us. Toys R Us, unfortunately, has not survived. The stores went out of business a couple years ago. Rest in peace. But you might remember the Toys R Us stores were effing huge. It was like a warehouse. It was like a Walmart-sized toy store. I don't know why you would be familiar with Walmart and not Toys R Us. What am I even talking about? The point is, okay, the store is big and there's many, many places to hide. So Jeffrey stayed in the back room area and like in the walls behind the displays, like behind the bikes and stuff. And Toys R Us sold baby food and kids snacks, so he was covered that way. Jeffrey very cleverly used baby monitors to set up his own little like surveillance system of the store so he could maneuver around as he pleased. And he would also change the employees' schedule so he could control who was where and when. In the evenings, he would ride bikes up and down the aisles and around the store if he needed a little extra exercise. Jeffrey actually burrowed so far into the walls that he ended up in the store next door. It was an abandoned Circuit City.
If I hear Yamo be there one more time, I'm going to Yamo burn this place to the ground.
He set up a cozy little spot, you know, under the stairs, and he had a secret door where he could come and go as much as he wanted. He even routed water from the Toys R Us to his little hidey hole and installed a smoke detector. Safety first. Jeffrey lived in his improvised apartment for like a solid 6 months, totally undetected. At some point, Jeffrey had some dental work done, and it must have been something really bothersome if he was willing to risk exposure like that. So afterward, Jeffrey set fire to the dental office, burned it to the ground. I guess to like make sure that his records wouldn't ever be exposed. It's the days before digital records, obviously. So a few months into Jeffrey's Toys R Us Circuit City residency, he started attending a local church, you know, for a little bit of human interaction. Approaching the holiday season and needing some more liquid assets, Jeffrey decided he was going to plan a big hit on the store. In December of that year, he went to a pawn shop nearby and stole a gun. Then on December 26th, Jeffrey made a move. He robbed that Toys R Us, taking a large sum of money, and during the heist, 2 of the employees actually escaped and got in touch with the police. In all the craziness, Jeffrey was kind of forced to flee out of his secret door, and he inadvertently exposed his elaborate setup. This is how the police found his little hidey hole in Circuit City. When they searched his custom-built sleeping compartment, they found, a pretty decent setup. He had a DVD player and posters on the wall. In fact, in his DVD collection, they only found one fingerprint, and it was on the DVD of the movie Catch Me If You Can. Ironic! And now we are all the way back to the beginning, with the police telling Lee Wainscott that her boyfriend, John Zorn, was really a prison escapee named Jeffrey Manchester, the roof man, and they needed her help. So Lee absolutely cooperated, and she called John and invited him to a fake birthday party at her house. So the police didn't have to chase him anymore. On January 5th, 2005, Jeffrey Manchester walked into his own apprehension.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
So after his recapture, Jeffrey sat in jail until he could stand trial later that year. So then, in December of 2005, he was found guilty on all charges and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. He was later sent off to Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina, and his record of adult correction offender public information lists a bunch of charges, including 8 counts of first-degree kidnapping, 5 robbery with a dangerous weapon, 4 felony breaking and entering, preparation to commit burglary, 2 possession of a firearm by a felon, possessing a weapon of mass destruction, damage with explosives, burning a public building, attempted escape from prison, and escaping from prison. That'll cost you another year. Jeffrey Manchester's expected release date is December 4th, 2036. So a fun little nugget for you guys, there's actually a movie being made about this story. It's supposed to be in production right now, maybe, who really knows, but it's starring Channing Tatum as Jeffrey Manchester.
Was this like a sex thing?
TBD. And that is the story of Jeffrey Manchester, the Roof Man. Again, if you want to know what makeup I used in today's look, then look down below in the description box because everything is linked. Also down in the description box is a link to the Google Doc if you would like to recommend a Crue Trime story to me. You just click the link, fill out the dirty details. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for hanging out today and for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this one, then consider subscribing to this channel before you leave today. I upload new videos here on YouTube every week, and you can follow me on all of the other socials as well. That is it for now. I will catch you next time in the next video. Bye! When did the original Urban Decay Naked palette come out? Get it together.
The original Urban Decay Naked
2010.
palette was released in 2010.
Correction, off. Oh, this is too much blush. Am I ruining it? 2025. Nope. Cordial. Cordial. Full and very. Fuck. That looks terrible. What the fuck, man? This looks so correct in this. Oh no! I'm so excited to use this palette.